Hello.
Welcome to the
The
best
best
overall
overall
show.
show. Say hello, Joe.
Hello, Joe.
Oh my gosh. We're back. We have taken, there's no one currently watching, but if you were watching, you would know that we have taken a significant hiatus and we have returned. We're all three of us are people with significant family commitments and Christmas and all those things. Took quite a lot out of all of us, I think. Joe, you are, I'm pretty sure you were busy in a variety of things, work and family, for the last several weeks.
Yes, sir, very much. I did get to go to a GT the first week in
Ooh,
January.
how'd it go?
Good. I went 3-2. I brought Eldar, um, which was actually probably the most fun army I have played in months.
Well, that's good.
So I am planting my flag here right now on this hill of 2025. I'm going to play Eldar all year. So that's what we're doing.
Is that specifically Craft World Eldar or all
Yes.
kind of Eldar or Dark
Well, we
World?
might throw
Because
some
Eldar is
different
a very
elements.
large. That's like
Yeah, yeah.
saying I'm going to drive cars all year.
Yeah. I am in the horrendous process of now rebasing like 13,000 points of Eldar. So that'll be cool.
You didn't answer the
I'm
question.
always getting
Craft World? Or are you going to give yourself allowances for Drakari and Harlequins?
no, I'm talking about that's my whole I have a whole elf display case, which is Harlequins, Drukhari,
Okay.
and Craft
So
World.
anything with the word elf involved is cool for this year.
Yes, except that dirty traitor that helps out the sisters.
Yeah, I technically I think there's some weird way that you can actually include it or something, but like
Oh, Kaigeno, that'd be amazing.
I think it used to
He's
be. I
sweet.
think in the old rules it used to be.
Yeah. Other than that, I have been. I am right now just checking out the Eldar spoilers on the new codex.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. That looks hot as shit. I am so excited. My kid painted 2,000 plus points of Wraith constructs for Eldar because he
Yeah.
really likes their look, and the Wraith detachment looks good without being busted.
Yeah. I like that the little spirit seers aren't locked into a specific unit now. They can just kind of tech marine
Oh
around.
yeah, it was really weird having a spirit seer like join a Wraith Knight.
A Wraith Lord. Yeah. Like, let me walk through this wall. Yeah. Cool.
I really like the Wraith Lord's new ability too. Like you pick like a type of foe and they get specialization against that foe.
Yeah, that is cool. I have 2 Wraith Lords, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. Also, what do you think? D scythes. I feel like at least one unit of Wraith Guard is running D scythes now.
The Flamers?
That are torrent now. Like
That is cool. I'm curious if the Hemlock also has, because it used to have those torrent weapons as well last edition. So we'll see.
my kid is super into the Wraith stuff, and I've always wanted to play some amount of Eldar. So I think the plan is to put together me and her to figure out a 2,000 point army that basically consists almost entirely of Wraith constructs, maybe some little stuff to
Well,
support.
don't forget about that Hemlock. That is a Wraith construct.
I think I have 2.
Okay.
I don't think they've ever been painted.
Very good.
But her paint scheme is super sick. It's like she does Talisarian blue contrast over the model. She does a Zenithal, right? Like, and then she does it. Like, not me. She does it.
Oh, nice.
She does like a black or dark gray undercoat. I can't remember which one she does. Then she does a Zenithal Wraithbone from above, and then she or not Wraithbone. What's the other one? Grayseer, and then she covers the whole thing in Talisarian blue contrast, really like lightly, so that it gets that slap chop Zenithal look. Like what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like it's like the slap chop style. And then she goes over the entire thing with Turbo Dork 4D glasses, which is a transparent 4D color shift.
Oh, 4D color shift.
Yeah, well, it's called 4D glasses, but it's just a transparent metallic color shift.
Okay.
But it's transparent, so it adds a metallic sheen to the color underneath, and it adds that color shift, like oil slick look into whatever paint you put it over the top,
Oh, that's really cool.
like a glaze. And what's cool is she leaves a white spot. She just does like ignores a rough oval where like the faceplate on like the the rounded helmet, but she ignores that with the Telestarian blue, and she just keeps going over that with like 9 or 10 coats of the 4D glasses over that white thing, and it makes that white spot she left open look like a metallic glare.
Oh, cool.
So it literally looks like, I have a video I'll bring out sometime, but it literally looks like it's like a metallic glare, but there's all this sparkle, and then there's like a really bright blue color shift metallic from Turbodork that she highlights a couple like top bits with, and then she does some gems in like a Tesseract glow paint over where she left the gems white.
Okay.
And then hits that with a little 40, and then literally like that's like, other than we do go through and do red tubes and a couple little like bibs and bobs and a little bit of like details in little places, but that's it. And it takes her it took her about 3 days to do I want to say like 20 or 30 wraith constructs.
Wow.
And they look really good. And oh yeah, that's right, she does a little dry brush up silver for like edge highlighting, and they look sick, especially for like the fact that like a 9-year-old, she's 12 now, or 11 now, but she did it when she was like 9 or 10, and like they're better painted than a lot of things that I've seen put on the table before, and they're cohesive, and it's super fast. She's got a Wraith Knight. She hasn't finished the sword, but she's got the Wraith Knight done.
Different data sheet.
The data sheet's cool now. The Wraith Lord data sheet doesn't seem as oppressive.
I haven't gotten that far yet in the spoiler, but that's what I've heard.
So it's a different cost if you take a sword. It's like 40 points cheaper if you have a sword, because you lose one of those. And their data sheet rule is basically for their big guns, if you're within half range for the big gun, they ignore, I don't know if it's 2 data sheets or one, but they ignore, at least one of the versions ignores, rerolls number of shots if you're within half range for the big gun. And it's like, it just like doesn't feel as, I think honestly, with like the changes and changing the dice manipulation thing, locking that into a specific detachment, and the movement stuff is really strong, obviously, because the movement phase is where you win the game.
Yes.
But they didn't make the movement phase stuff like your whole army, like, I don't know. They didn't make it in a way that like, I feel like you can like, it's not so abusable that it's uninteractable.
Yeah. I was expecting them to have just a version of their old battle focus back where they just get to move like D6 inches after they shoot, but no, you have to shoot them first, then they move, which is a little scary.
Yeah, I mean, having to get tapped first is a little terrifying,
especially when you have armor made out of paper.
Yeah, I mean, you could
paper and prayers
and just have a 2-up armor save, man.
No problem. Hell yeah.
And also the sculpts for the new Phoenix Lords look amazing.
Oh, so good. I am actually really sad that Shuriken Cannons lost Sustained. That's like my bread and butter of my whole list.
As a Green Tide player, nothing but joy.
Are
they still are the big ones still damaged too?
Yeah. They're just like heavy bolters, basically.
I'll make a deal. You can keep Sustained, but you lose damage too.
No. No, I won't take that at all. But yeah. Okay. So you went to LVO. How'd that go?
It was really interesting. I feel like I'm going to wax poetic about this a little bit. I feel like my relationship with LVO has changed significantly as I have evolved as a person and as a player. When I first started going to LVO back in the day, it was like the culmination Super Bowl, right? Like that was like, we thought of it as like, that's the big event, I as things have grown, like I really now look at like WTC and WCW, the World Championships and the World Team Championships, as like the real culmination big events for the year. Like those are the actual like Super Bowls in my opinion for the year.
Okay.
And my opinion of LVO kind of adjusted to kind of think of it as like it's more like a big get together, right? It's the highest concentration of players in the world at any given time. And so it's where you get to see all your friends and whatever. And it's in a city that's obviously really conducive to like partying and whatever. So it's more like a vacation, like a, I don't know, like an enjoyment trip. But so that's how I thought of it last time I went. And I went with Casra and it was amazing. And we don't do drugs, kids. We imbibed a bunch of edibles. I didn't do very well. I went like 4. I think I went 4-2. I went 3-2-1 or 4-1-1 or something.
That was with Knights last year.
No, it was. I've done much better with Knights. I took Horde Admech when Admech were terrible.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I really didn't worry about winning. I just like played my games, had fun, and the thing I looked forward to each night was actually just hanging out with the people. And I made that like the bigger focus for me for last time. And I think that was good. And then this most recent WCW, I think I've gotten kind of locked into like trying to be super hyper competitive, which I feel like I am a lot of the time. But like I ended up paying GSC and taking GSC to WCW without enough reps and without really understanding the Army. And I went 1-7, and I had this really brutal 3-day weekend, 4-day weekend of just getting my ass kicked by the best players in the world. When I really should have brought the Army that I was really comfortable with, I had a lot of reps with, that I understood the meta and understood how I interacted with all the different armies. I didn't do that. I got my ass shellacked. And I thought that was a really good, it really recentered me on like what I want out of the hobby. So then I went and painted some flash kits. And then and I didn't know really I wanted to go back to orcs, but when I painted flash kits, I was like something lit up in my heart. I was like, this is the best modeling experience I've had in a long time. I love orcs. I like really felt it. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to play something I have literally right now. I think it's something like I have almost 100 reps with, which is Green Tide.
Wow. I will say the Flash Kits kit is one of the coolest ones.
It is so cool, man. It is so much fun to do. And it's
so customizable.
Yeah. And it's funny,
as it should be.
It's just a rectangle that you just glue parts on the outside of.
Right.
And so I went, the Flash Kit started me on this adventure of like, trying to up-level my paint approach for orcs and painting these really bright, vibrant colors, which I have now fully committed to that I'm actually going to like, since I've done all the colors now, I'm going to go back and I'm literally going to cell shade the entire army. So I'm fully committed that my orcs are going to be cell shaded orcs. I'm about to literally paint 1 million black lines.
Oh, geez. Oh, you're taking your existing ones and
repainting
them as cell shading.
Style, right? They're painted in that like 3 or 4 colors per color, kind of not super blended, like chunky, like comic book style. That's how the whole army's already painted, but I haven't done the black lining yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back and redo that. Have you seen that look?
Yes, I have. I have lost best painted to a cell shaded orc army before at the Michigan GT.
I'm going to go do it.
I lost by 1 point.
Oh no! It is a pretty cool style. It is a really intensive style. It does take a lot of work. Don't think I would commit to it right now if all of the other shit for the army wasn't already done. You know what I mean? Like the whole army is already done.
Mm-hmm.
Now I just have to go back through and do all the black lines and the little comic book hash marks and that kind of stuff.
Oh, Ryan wants to know what detachment of GSC you brought to.
Oh, it was Sanctic, and it was super fun. But it was the Biosanctic, like the Aberrants. So the problem is like this is my problem, right? Like I have a issue where I kind of try to I try never to be anybody's problem. And I picked up the army, but I have a bunch of really great friends who are really good at GSE, and I did not want to bug them because they all do coaching for a living. Like that's part of their life. They're like part of the thing they make money on. So I did not want to bug them for free coaching and ask them how to do it. So I just tried to figure it out on my own. And what I didn't realize was like I was playing the army more of like stage up, hold back, and then capitalize on my opponent's errors. But how I should have been playing it is just like going all in from basically from the beginning and like dying in their deployment zone. McDougal corrected me on this at like before the last 2 rounds, and I played the last 2 rounds. Still didn't win the last 2 rounds, but I played the last 2 rounds that way, and I literally I lost by 1 point, and then another one I lost by a very small number of points because I made a terrible mistake. And I feel like now I could go back and play it a lot better. But like I just didn't have enough reps, so there was like lots of times where like something would happen and I wouldn't understand it in action well enough to really capitalize on it. But with my orcs going into LVO, which we'll talk about here in a sec, is that pre and post nerf combined, before I started practicing for LVO, I had 65 reps and 4 losses. That's including practice games and tournament games. And I'd won 2 majors with it. Right? So like
an impressive record.
I feel very comfortable. Right now, I'm at 90-ish reps. I lost track in the 85 range. I'm at 90-ish reps, and I have 7 losses total.
Wow.
Right, and one of them was to TJ Lanigan. So like whatever. And it's really emphasizing to me that like, so it used to be, I did this with Knights too. It used to be that I would play one army all year. And then I would hobby another army for that whole year. And then I'd switch over at the next season.
That's a good plan to have. So
currently I have myself locked into 3 armies for this coming season, which is orcs. And then my kid is between Eldar and Imperial Guard. So I figure I should play Eldar Imperial Guard so that I can help them. But also if they decide not to want to play, they'll still get a kick out of their models being on the table. So that way I can at least take their models to some events. You know, that I think will get them encouraged with the game too.
All right.
So, all right. Yeah. So going into this LVO, I had 2 things on my mind. One is I wanted to do the best I possibly could with a goal of potentially making the shadow round. But I wanted to focus on just playing something I was comfortable with, regardless of what the current meta was. I was just going to play what I knew best and accept the consequences. And I wasn't going to worry about what everyone said was the best thing to play. I was just going to worry about the thing that I knew I could play my very best.
Kim, yes, I agree. Eldar is looking amazing.
Eldar looks super sick.
Yeah. All right, let's go through here. Here's the.
It's us, yeah. We had a really good showing this weekend, or that weekend. We had Donald Plummer took best painted and went 5-1. I went 5-1. Stephen Ross went 5-1 at LVO. Alex White, who's on our team, went 4-2 with Creations of Bile. And then
Donald won best painted at
LVO. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Yes.
Oh wow! Sure. Does he have a golden ticket already then?
Golden. It doesn't get you a golden ticket for best painted. It would best overall, whatever would.
Gotcha. Okay.
But he definitely did win first place out of 1,156 people.
That is,
and got like a couple $1,000 gift card to FLG, and we have this trophy in our trophy case now for him. That's literally like a 6-pound like mallet.
Wow, that is amazing! Congrats, Donald. I did not know that. I knew he placed really well.
No, dude's a hero. He placed the best, in fact.
Yeah. Well, I meant like in the actual tournament, not the paint.
Oh yeah. He went 5. He lost in round 6.
Yes, Ryan. That was with his towel.
Indeed, he's been on the new auxiliary kind of combined arm style detachment that came out on Grommus.
Yeah. Happy Progress. I just have one thing for Happy Progress. It was a Forge Fiend that I painted for my Alpha Legion. This thing was an absolute nightmare to paint.
Did you do all the trim after painting the panels?
Yes.
Womp.
Why is that no good?
The way I always do Chaos, because I know I have a shaky hand, is I paint the entire thing the color of the trim, and then I go back and ink all the panels.
Ah, okay. That probably is a more efficient way to do this.
It's way more. It probably doesn't. I mean, obviously you have to do all the things to get like the right gradients and stuff, but like it is an efficient way to do it. I've painted my world. That's how I painted the world eaters.
Okay. Yeah, this thing took quite a bit of time to paint. So cool. Now that's getting put on the shelf. Anyway, LVO.
Oh, I have a little bit of. I'll talk about hobby things. So I'll take pictures of it for the next time. But I had this Greater Unclean one that I thought was like the best thing I'd ever painted, and I think we showed pictures of it on here before. And I turned it into the Verkels Vault LVO painting competition. And it's like in one of those open award systems. So like everyone of a certain level gets a bronze, everyone of a certain level gets a silver, everyone of a certain level gets a gold. Right. Mm-hmm. And I did it, and I was like, hey, this is the best thing I ever painted. I'm sure it'll win something. Da, da, da. Yeah, nothing.
Wow.
And they didn't give me any feedback. So shout out to Kenny Boucher from Next Level Painting. I went over to Kenny, who was running the Longboard doubles, showed it to him. He gave me a bunch of good feedback. And then I have since gone through and done like a whole bunch of like glazing and inks to like darken up all the recesses and irritants around where the straps are. And I've up leveled it significantly. So I'll bring on videos and stuff next time.
Awesome.
But it was pretty demoralizing thinking like, this is the best thing I ever painted, and being like, you don't even worthy of bronze. God.
Wow. Well,
okay. I feel like this year has been a lot of like recalibration for me. Like, Noah, you're getting too big for your britches, kick in the chest. Okay. And you have the choice to give up or like get better. And I will choose to get better.
I mean, you did win a super major, so I don't know if that's like getting kicked in the chest.
That's fair.
What do we got going on here?
Okay, so I'll talk about my first two matches basically at the same time.
Let's jump for it. We can
okay, actually, roll back. We'll talk through the pictures then real quick. And then we'll
talk about your list real quick. Let everyone know what we're doing here.
This is Green Tide Orcs. I call it Group Swim, which apparently nobody has ever gotten the joke or the reference.
Because it's a tide?
Yeah, because it's like my thought was like tide pool, like, and then like you have like obviously pool, and then like there's that whole thing called group swim where everyone can go out and swim, like open swim shit. So I don't know. I thought called it group swim because it's a lot of people, a lot of bodies, and it's orcs. And like every time anyone's been like group swim, I don't know what that's reference to. Moving on. Okay. This is the current spiritual successor to my Green Tide list, going out to the very beginning. The fundamentals here is I've always tried to veer on the edge of 6 or less characters to limit assassinate bleeding. And with Cole, I've just kind of accepted that you could max Cole against me if you really wanted to. I built the list in a way though where I have 4 big blocks, and then I have 11 MSU units throughout the army. Right, so I've got a 10-man boys, 5 flash kits, 10 Gretchen, 10 commandos, 5 Ludas, 5 storm boys, tank bustas. Tank busters are squads of 6.
Oh, those should be 6. Yeah, I forget that's not a 5-man.
And 2 trucks. And so usually the idea is if you take fixed against me, I put all 5 dudes in a truck. I put the truck in reserve until round 3, and I play the whole game with my 11 MSU units. And my 20 my boys just hide behind walls and wait for you to get froggy.
But you put all your characters in one truck and just hide it?
In one truck, and I put it in reserve until round 3. And the boys' job is just to make sure that you never get back there, where I bring in the truck in my back corner behind my home objective on 3, and you never score assassinate once.
That is what we would call a big brain play.
Yeah, that's I've only had someone take fixed against me twice. Both times they got less than 15 points unfixed.
My one question, what sort of self-respecting war boss is going to listen to what a weird boy says?
Yeah, I agree with you. The problem is that there's a couple things currently that bonus if you kill their warlord. There's like a thing in the assassin abilities that gets you an extra thing if it was the warlord killed. Like there's a couple things, and the weird boy is like the last dude that can usually come out. So I just put you're right. It's bullshit, but it's a tactical play.
Yeah. Just as long as he doesn't jump and then accidentally blow himself up.
Well, I mean, that's when you just shoot the hazardous gun. But which he did kill himself at least once during this weekend.
Ooh, he does have deadly demise as well, which is
He
funny.
does, which actually also got me a kill this weekend, which we'll talk about.
Oh, that's amazing.
So basically, the concept behind this list is it's normal green tide. So you have 4 squads of 20. They're like big and tough with all the cool strat support. You have the ferocious show off warlord who hit or war boss who hits at strength 14 during the WA because he's +1 strength and then becomes +3 strength if he's a squad of 10 or more. He gets +1 strength from the WA, so he goes up to strength 14 during the WA. I call him the Titan
Seems
Slayer
strong.
boss.
Yeah, that's approaching Gaz levels of strength.
And then we have the Brutal Cunning War Boss, who is he's converted from my he's converted from like an old big extra big knob who has clipped off the arm of a Cadian and is holding the Cadian's arm, who's holding the flag, and they've written "Wah" in like graffiti over the Cadian flag.
All right, Death to Cadia. I like it.
I call him my angry yelling boss because that's what I say every time I roll for my CP regen. It's because I say angry yelling. He gets it CP on a 5, on a 3-up. If you get +2 to the roll if you're with a unit of 10 or more models. I have to plug into power, or this interview will be very short.
Very good. All right. Well, I will take this opportunity to talk about your round 1 opponent.
Okay.
John McCardle's Solar Spearhead Custodes.
Funny enough, Solar Spearhead will be my first and second round opponents.
I saw that. He has a Blade Champion with Adamantine Talisman, Telemon Heavy Dreadnought with Augury Uplink, which per the detachment gets made into a character, yes?
Yeah, so you pick 2 Dreadnoughts in that detachment. This is also Lee's favorite current detachment, and also I play Stodes. I like this detachment a lot. The Augury Uplink, it's a weird name for a 5-up Feel No Pain enhancement, but that's what it is.
Oh, okay.
It's basically like future telling so that the Dreadnought can anticipate incoming attacks.
That makes sense.
And then the Adamantine Talisman is to demonstrate that character has experience fighting along with the Cataphracti, which is like the armored section of the Custodes. And it's like basically like a badge that says I've served with the Cataphracti, and what it allows him to do is pick one vehicle, and that vehicle gets to fall back and shoot.
Oh, very good. 3 Caladius Grav Tanks, 2 Contemptor Achilles, which is the spear guy, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. 2 Contemptor Galatus, which is the sword and shield guy, Dreadnought.
Uh-huh.
And then 5 Wardens and 2 units of 5 Prosecutors.
Okay, so McCarl was great. His dice were terrible for him. I do think that this list specifically is subpar for like there's a bunch of different potential archetypes for the Solar Spearhead. I think the ones that veer away from the infantry tend to be better, in my personal opinion. The 3 Grav Tanks is great. I think it's one too many. And I think specifically, though, the Achilles Dreadnought is, of the 4 Dreadnought choices you have, it is the worst one.
Okay.
Telemon is good, but you only want 1 or 2. The Contemptor is by far the best that isn't a Telemon, and it's the one you want to take 3 of, the Venerable Contemptor, because it gets back up on a 2-up.
Which is just the generic 30k Contemptor kit. Yeah.
Okay. He's got a multi-melta. He gets like a bunch of attacks with a fist. He's strength 12. It's great.
Weird. He doesn't have like a weird Custodes gun. It's just a multi-melta.
Yeah, it's just a multi-melta.
Yeah.
He has a 5-up invul, 2-up armor save. And he gets back up on a 2, which is like the biggest deal. So what's cool is because it activation locks your opponent, you can like run him at your opponent. And as long as you're out of your opponent's charge range with something that is reasonable, then they kill you in shooting, and then you get back up. And then because all the dreads in here get +1, +2 to move, +1 to advance, +1 to charge, and they have an advanced charge strat, it means that very reliably, if you advanced on the first turn, you are very likely going to be making charges with those Contemptors on the next turn, regardless if you got shot to shit. So I feel like they're the right thing. They activation lock your opponent. They're really pressury. They're great. Getting back up on a 2-up is awesome. They get back up with D6 wounds. So like you might get up with 1 wound. You might get up with 6 wounds. The Galatus is also amazing because it's -1 to wound in melee. It has a 4-up invulnerable instead of 5-up invulnerable. and making one of them a character. So the idea is I like making the Telemon a character and the Galatis a character. The Galatis gets an upgrade for +1 attack, +1 strength, and +1 damage for all of his attacks.
Oh,
So he ends up
nice.
with 9 attacks at strength 10, AP 4, damage 4, with sustained hitting on 2s.
Okay.
The dude hits like a Mack truck.
Yes.
And then you give the Feel No Pain to the Telemon. But overall, it was fine. So this and my next opponent both did. In this matchup, I feel like it's slightly favored for the Orcs. If you do the right strategy, it's pretty even, but slightly favored for the Orcs. If you do the wrong strategy, which they're all wrong but one, in my personal opinion, against Green Tide, against all the other matchups other than Green Tide, you want to slow roll it a little bit, bait them out, and then collapse on them. Against Green Tide, you have to basically go all gas, no brakes from turn 1. So if you're the Custodes player, you're advancing your whole army into the middle of the board on turn 1, period. Because I only have 1 damage turn. And then once that damage turn is kaput, if it's kaput early, they'll win the attrition because of them getting stronger basically as they get depleted. So they'll win the attrition and eventually outscore me. The longer you let me wait to pop to position and pop my Wa, the more likely it is I'm going to destroy the game.
Do 20 boys take down one of these dreadnoughts in melee?
Not without reroll wounds, and not the Wa. So in not the Wa, you're wounding on 6s against everything but the Telemon. In the Wa, you're wounding on 5s. You can pop 1 CP for reroll wounds. Now a war boss can just straight up kill one by himself. 9 attacks hitting on 2s with strength 10 or whatever APD. He can just kill one. That's fine. And then obviously having a Knob help out and having the Pain Boy. The real spice in my list is actually the Tank Busters. So what I do is I take 6 Tank Busters and 5 Gits, and I put them in one truck, and I put another 6 Tank Busters and 5 Gits and put them in another truck. So those trucks roll around as the most busted gunboats of all time.
Mm-hmm.
They're running around playing 5D3 rockets and 15 sustained strength 6 AP1 damage 2 shots. And basically I roll them around like I'll get a dreadnought down low, and then I'll use the flash kits shots to get them down to kill them. Like I'll get them to like 1 or 2 wounds. I'll use the flash kits shot to like get 2 wounds through, kill them, and then I'll just declare a charge out onto the next unit that I'm, whatever. Sometimes, yeah. So, and a lot of times my opponents are acting a little gun shy of the busses. So basically, in both cases, my opponent did not rush the middle of the table. And this one, it was just the first round was just basic scoring. It was take and hold. And so, like, I had the advantage on the primary game. I stickied all the objectives basically in turn 1. He pushed me a little bit. I responded by like just swamping him down. And then there was a big brain move in maybe the middle of the game that like really set it off for him, that like messed him up. He charged in with his Blade Champ and a Dreadnought into one of my flanks, tapped one of my 20 mans with a War Boss and a Pain Boy and my commandos. Killed all the commandos but 2, the Knob and the model that was in base contact with him. I pulled all the other models.
The Breacher Ram?
Yeah, I pulled all the other models to leave the boss and the other guy out of cohesion.
Oh, okay.
And then I pulled all the models but the Knob, which meant on my turn, and I had his Dreadnought down to 1 wound. And so he charged the Dreadnought. I got it down to 1 wound. He killed a bunch of guys with it, but it was in combat on 1 wound. He had another Dreadnought that was close by that was on a couple wounds as well. And then I just moved my Knob like an inch and threw a Bomb Squig. Bomb Squigs ignore combat. Whatever, killing that Dreadnought in combat then allowed my guys to not have fallen back that turn, which then they charged what was left near them and killed the shit out of that. And then the whole game just kind of spun out.
Wow. That was so you pulled your unit out of coherency.
Right.
So then you couldn't pile in or consolidate. Right. And then when the end of the turn came, the one guy died to unit coherency.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm not in combat on my turn.
Wow. That's another big brain play.
I know. It was I had a couple of those this weekend. So my opponent literally threw away 2 sets of dice during this game because, like, at one point he rolled 14 2-up saves and made none of them.
Ooh.
Or sorry, 14 3-up saves on his 2-up armor, but 14 3-up saves and he made none of them.
It's a lot of 1s and 2s.
Yep, it was pretty bad. So he threw away 2 sets of dice. By the end of the game, we were good. He started to bring it back at the end once he was on the 3rd set of dice. The game, he started to close it back out. It still ended like a 92-40 or whatever game. So I
have you at 100 points for round.
Oh yeah, 100. Sorry, 100. What was his score?
Doesn't
matter.
Stand by. 48, 100 to 48.
Yeah, it would have been closer to like 100 to like 15, but he really started to make some good plays on the end and pull back. My next opponent, so 2 times this weekend.
Oh, hey Sam.
Oh,
what's going on, brother?
Hey, you beautiful person. 2 times this weekend, my opponent's timed out.
Oh wow. Okay.
I realize I need to add to my spiel that people don't understand the ITC clock rules usually. There's a rule in ITC clock rules that if we're both sub 5 minutes, then we do not start the next round. That's it. In ITC clock rules. If you're both sub 5 minutes, you don't start the next round. Playing 154 models, I'm going to be sub 5 minutes in the last. Usually, I'm sub 5 minutes in round 4. Sometimes I'm a little more than that, but I usually have enough to finish my rounds, and I don't time out. But I am going to be sub 5 minutes going into the end of, especially if I went second. I'm going to be sub 5 going into the bottom of 4.
Okay.
It's just how it is, man. It's like, I mean, I'm moving 154 models, whatever. But most of the time, my opponent is not, which means we go to the 5th round, we play the 5th round just fine. It is more often my opponent times out than I time out in any of my games because a lot of my opponents who are less experienced really struggle with all the decision paralysis that is required when you're playing against Green Tide. I have a Blood Surge move. I have regens. I have a whole bunch of shenanigans I can do. And it's also just like a lot of things. So they have to shoot every one of their shots, which you're not used to doing. Usually people will like omit pistols and stuff. Mm-hmm. But against me, they feel like they have to do everything. So they'll roll every shot. They'll do everything. They'll try to make all these maximized plays. And that'll take way more time than they're used to.
So we have Aaron Lopez's Solar Spirit at Custodes. Golden Autobots.
So this guy was a much better player than my first round opponent.
Okay.
He still didn't see the line of needing to go all in. He did usually I'm not a big fan of the bikes. He used them really well, which I thought was cool.
Are they locked to 3-man bikes or can they go to 6?
3 is max. They're 2 or 3.
Okay.
He actually showed me some, like, I really love the bikes were fine. I do also still think leaning into the infantry is wrong, but that's just me. The Calatus drive tank was great. I don't think he had enough dreadnoughts, but he definitely played a more like he used the Witch Seekers, forcing battle shocks to great avail. And
are those the flamer ones?
They force battle shock when they hit you.
Okay. All
right. He also fell to a couple baits, which put him in a real bad position. And he made a critical error that, like, literally, like, if he had a chance to win the game, like, it went right out the window.
Ooh. Talk about that.
Basically, he had the big unkillable Tenmon in the middle of the table for a while, right? And I'm in on that thing with one of my 20-man squads, and I'm kind of like ringed around. So, like, you have the base, and I'm ringed around the bottom of the base up to the middle. He comes in with the Venatari. And he charges in. So if this is the circle, he charges in like over here, right? Like on this side of the circle. Then he charges in with Wardens and the Blade Champ on the other side. So he is now on the top half of the circle of the base. And he's in combat over here against my red squad and over here against my red squad. He activates. And so knowing that he has a Pylon D3 plus 3 ability, he activates with his Venatari first, which will be the lowest number of swings, but is most likely to get pulled out of the ability to do combat if he swings with the Blade Champ first.
Okay.
I think this was a mistake because I think the Blade Champ squad could have potentially killed the whole squad. But he did it to try to economize how many swings he gets. So I did the math. I rolled my things until I basically counted how many guys I had to remove to pull myself out of a 5-inch pilot. I did the math. I rolled saves up until I got to that point. And then when I had that many left, I just took my 6-up save and killed that many models. With obviously, I had to roll my Feel No Pain still, which I didn't make.
Okay.
Which left it so that if he didn't get a 6, if he didn't roll a 6 on his D3, so if he didn't roll a 3 on his D3, so he didn't roll a 5 or 6, he could not pile into combat with me, which means he wouldn't be able to swing on me. Sure enough, he rolls a 4. He rolls a total of 4-inch pile in. He piles in 4 inches. He doesn't quite get in combat with me. And then I activate with my red squad that was already in existing combat. I pile in, get one model between my war boss and his wardens who have already activated. And my war boss picks up 2 wardens.
Oof. Through the Feel No Pain?
Through the Feel No Pain. Oh, I had already popped the Feel No Pain. No, he didn't pop the Feel No Pain. He didn't, because he was saving it for the reprisal because he knew I had a bunch of stuff coming. So he pops the Feel No Pain on the following turn. So on the following turn, I fall back with my red squad. He's got a model because how he had pile in, he has a model that's unlocking terrain. So all my stuff on the far left flank can see that warden squad. And I get both trucks worth of flash kits and tank buses out of their truck. I call the wall, I advance and move everything up. I shoot the shit out of the squad, get it down to just the Blade Champ. I charge that squad and kill the Blade Champ, who's left on 2 wounds. I take up all the other objectives, and we're coming down into the bottom of 4. And we end up not both being some time, and my opponent goes to play. The judges come over, ask us, look at a clock, and say, "Hey, what run are you on?" And they call us and tell us hard dice time. I still think I pull it out by like 15 or 20. I still think it's like a 15-point difference, even if we went to round 5, because I was just on everything. Everything was sticky. I was consolidating. I picked up all his threats. He had like 1 bike captain left. That was it. But he wasn't super happy about it because apparently he didn't know those rules, and I didn't realize he didn't know. I assumed he had read the player pack like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward, I add that to my spiel now when playing ITC clock rules because I don't want people to be taken back.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was it. It was good. Again, he just didn't see the line, like he needed to go aggressive, and he didn't.
And were they Autobots?
No, they were just golden. They're golden.
Okay.
This is closer to Autobots than the other one is. This was we both came up and looked at the mission and looked at the deployment, which was tipping point, and we both knew that this was not going well for him. He was a very good player, and he had really good army selections for what he did as far as how he used his stuff. The demolishers are really good at shooting into combat and killing my guys. The simple fact, though, is we were playing on WTC. It was the WTC map layout, so super dense terrain. It was tipping point, and I was playing a horde infantry army, and he was playing tanks who can't go through walls.
Yeah, this is Nick Garcia's Combined Regiment, Astra Militarum. Garcia's Gunheads. I like the name.
He was great. He's a vet too. He's currently in the military. He's an awesome dude. We had a great time.
What branch?
He's in the Army.
Okay.
And he's like a plane mechanic or something.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's super cool dude. Really great. He was very chill. We had a great game. He really played it out. He killed a 20-man on turn 1.
Wow.
He got a line of sight that I did not understand, and he ended up just using his orders to right effect and getting all these lines up. And then he shot. I was like, well, if he shoots in the wrong order, then I'm great. And then he did not shoot in the wrong order, even remotely.
Oh.
I gave him a go back on he positioned something in a way that would have got blood surged by the red squad, and then he would have just lost the game on the spot. He repositioned it. It was great. It was a very gentlemanly game, super cool. But at the end of the day, he didn't leave his third of the table. He scored, it was 90 something to 29, and 10 of that was paid.
29 or 92 to 29. Yeah. Real quick, he'll just run through his list. He's got Gaunt's Ghosts, Lord Soldier.
Gaunt's Ghosts are so good.
Platoon command squad, a tank commander with a demolisher cannon, I believe, grand
That was really
strategist, one infantry squad,
Yep, that
3
was
armored sentinels,
Leon
uh,
test.
a battle tank, 2 demolishers, 2 exterminators, and I don't even know what a Malkador Annihilator is. I know it's one of those big, weird forge-rolled
Yeah,
tanks.
it's a big gun tank. It's a long tank. It's got some defensive tech. It also, I think, rerolls wounds if you're on objective. Rerolls
Okay.
on objective. He used it pretty effectively. It's also like a lot of wounds and it's really long profile. So he used it to like stop me from charging into his other shit. He just like parked it annoyingly in the middle of the table in a way that like really complicated my movement and used it to anchor me.
What was the thing that picked up the 20-man squad?
2 demolishers, an exterminator, and the annihilator, all shooting a 20-man squad.
Holy crap. Okay.
And then a charge from Gaunt's Ghosts.
This thing has 18 wounds, T11, and what does it have for a demolisher cannon, 2 heavy bolters, a twin last cannon, and can you strap some extra guns onto it? Hunter killer missile. Okay, interesting. Did any of these Forge World tanks get legended when their book came out?
The Malkadors all did, I think.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right.
This is his last go with him. But so he played really well, the best he could. I mean, given the scenario, I was in combat with his tanks basically from round 1. And I just like kept charging things. I kept whiffing on killing stuff though, so I just like kept charging stuff and then recharging things all the time. It was just it was a pain in my ass, but it was literally just scoring. He didn't score any points at all after round 2.
Wow, that is. Were you just locking these tanks in combat and then?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't hit. He had a single tank move past the midpoint, and that was the Malkador on turn 1. Got his barrel over the midpoint, and then I killed it, and he never moved past he never got out of within 20 inches of his board edge ever after that.
Wow. Okay, so this was the end of day 1 then?
Yeah, I know it's feeling pretty good. I was definitely not disillusioned that like I had gotten three matchups that like I knew the Solar Spearhead matchups because I played against Lee, who's really, really good. And I knew what the strategy was. And then they didn't do the strategy. So like I knew from the get-go that like those matches were going to be easy because they weren't doing the thing they were supposed to do. And then this matchup is just like, especially WTC terrain, is like already really good for me without indirect fire and without a bunch of infantry to mess me up. So like, I knew I had gotten 3 kind of easier matchups for me in my list on the day. They were good players. It was definitely like they're good lists as far as like math goes, but it was just like I knew I was positioned well for those. And then I read what I was playing against the next day, and I was like really confused on what was going to happen.
We have Edward Molnar's Cohort Cybernetica Adeptus Mechanicus. Very serious, competitive, big robot. He has a data smith, 2 data smiths, a tech pre-sentencier, a techno archaeologist. Is that the
12-inch deep straight guy?
I don't even know what models that is. Is that the Stilts guy?
It used to be the black stone fortress guy with the
little okay, gotcha. All right. 2 units of 10 rangers, 1 unit of 10 vanguard, 5-man Taraxi Skystalkers. These are not the flamer dudes.
No.
Nope. Okay. 2 units of 5 Sikaran infiltrators, 4 Castellan robots, and 4 more Castellan robots. 3 Scorpius disintegrators, which are the indirect.
No, it's either the indirect or the anti-tank gun. They were all equipped with the Faramite cannon, which is the big anti-tank gun.
Okay, and then a Scorpius Dune Raider, which is the transport. Yeah.
So, okay, first off, this is the worst attachment theoretically in AdMech, and it's gone 3-0. And I look back at what he's played against. He's played against like Bile and Marines and some other things.
Wow.
So like I can tell that. I mean, obviously his like the flat damage 3 fists on the robots are good against Bile and whatever, but like you can't. And then I actually looked him up too, and he had like won a bunch of RTTs. He's mostly an RTT hero, but like The dude obviously knows what he's doing because this is like the worst attachment in AdMech, and he's 3-0 at LVO, and he's my thought was this is a good player and he knows something I don't know. Right?
All right.
That was my trepidation going into this game, was that there was some secret sauce that he had unearthed with this configuration that I just didn't understand. And what it actually really comes down to is that like a lot of the current stuff in the meta is actually just like not that good into killing robots, and the robots are really good into killing them. It does have a lot of really good stratagems. It has some cool little tricks and tech. Forcing battle shocks with the infiltrators is cool. The being able to reduce the OC with the Vanguard is cool. The disintegrators are really good into hull spam. So the disintegrators like kill the shit out of DDAs because it's like D6 plus 2 damage out of and then they get to reroll wounds against, I think they get +1 to hit and reroll wounds or something against vehicles. So they're like good at killing vehicles, and then the Castellan robots are good at killing elite infantry, and they're pretty hard to kill. And there's just like a bunch of like, if you know how to play it very well, there's a bunch of cool little tech pieces and things you can interact. Apparently, so I talked to my opponent afterwards, and so his idea going in was he knew that there were very specific things that he needed to worry about, and if he could get me to take the bait and commit one of those resources to something that was a trick, at least once he could capitalize that and potentially flip the game and win the game. He'd apparently played against Tide before. I'm going to sneeze. He played against Titanworks before, and for him, he said that his win against Titanworks is dependent on basically tricking them into taking baits. So, I mean, we talked about that after. I kind of like going in. I think one of the things that has helped me with Tide is like knowing when I need to spend CP and when it's going to be a waste of CP, and when I need to commit resources and when it's a bad commitment of resources. Just knowing when the trades are correct, right? And being, a million games in now, I feel like I can almost always tell when the trade is correct. So first thing he did was I deployed, so there's like a corner ruin at the very front of the, like just outside the objective with a middle objective, right? And this is Purge, so I'm already worried. And this is Rapid Escalation, so I put a 20-man in reserve and I can bring them on turn 1.
Okay.
I stage up the commandos 1.1 inches away from the wall from the corner objective. I stage all my other stuff kind of just like behind walls. And then I move on my turn. I move up a little bit and position a little more on his. And he had hung infiltrators out there for me to charge. I did not charge those infiltrators. So I have now a 20-man stage up on the left top flank. I did jump on turn 2, a 20-man onto the right bottom flank, and then I have a 20-man in the middle of the table and a 20-man on reserve, and then the commandos on turn 2 come out and move block the robots, so that on his turn he can't go anywhere with the robots. He just has to hang out in the middle of the table, kill commandos.
Do those things overwatch really well?
Yeah, they all have flammers, and he can have them on +2 attacks. So they look like, but they can't. But you cannot
overwatch the commandos.
Dude, it comes in so clutch all the time.
Yeah,
they're really overcosted as far as like in general. They're a lot of points, but I think
they are.
They do so much so often that I just can't ever not play it. The problem is most people play aggressively and then they die. I always deploy them somewhere safe. My goal is to have my commandos on turn 3. That's like always the goal. So I rapid ingress the 20-man blob at the end of his turn 2. And he shoots a little bit, kills a couple models. And then on 3, I charge 3 20-mans into his deployment zone. I call the WA. I charge.
Just shooting your boys squads is kind of a trap, because especially if it's got a pain boy in it, because you can get dudes back with that. And
and you knew that.
You just gain 1 billion inches of movement off of that.
This 20-man that I put in reserve did not have any characters, so it was okay to shoot it.
Okay.
And he was outside of blood surge distance, so it was fine. So on my turn, so this is what usually happens in mine. So first off is I pose up both trucks. I empty all the flash kits and all the tank buses out of the trucks. and I shoot the front squad of robots with all the shots, and I kill it down to like 2 robots and a character. And I end up, once I get it that low, I switch over and start shooting the back to soften the back squad. Then I charge the back squad with a squad of Storm Boys so that he can't heroic into the 20 man that I'm about to charge a tank in his deployment zone with. So that way he can't charge them, or he can't heroic them. And then I charge the front squad of robots on its front profile with 120 man, and I charge between it and the other squad of robots on its back profile with the other 20 man, who I give the +1 to charge and reroll charges. The Weird Boy has already been jumped into place. They move up and they charge a bunch of vehicles and some infantry. Then my 10-man squad comes around and charges a random infantry squad that's between them. The goal is to activate that first, so I remove a bunch of the buffs when I activate the other stuff for the removing the -1 to hit in melee. Because if he's within 6 inches of an infantry squad, of a battle line squad, he gets -1 to hit in melee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did the Weird Boy ever get to snipe anyone with his gun this tournament?
This tournament, yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
This game, no, but he did shoot a tank and do 5 damage to a tank.
Wow.
That was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And so basically at the end of my activation, I killed an entire squad of robots, 2 robots out of another squad of robots, a tank, 2 squads of infantry, wounded 2 tanks, and all this stuff was tapped. And I had 70 boys sitting in the middle of the table.
Yikes.
And my opponent literally, like, on his turn goes, what do I do? The rest of the game went that way. My opponent clocked out. On like 4 or whatever. But it was very obviously resolved. And I think I still had like 6 or 7 minutes left. We just did our thing, and it was good.
Okay.
And I just didn't do any more damage after that. I just held him in place. He had Skystalkers in my backfield when I did that charge. So 5 flash kits, though, went off on an adventure and just murdered those 5 Skystalkers and like kind of never made it back to doing anything else in the game.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Good old flash kits.
And that brought me to my round 5 against TJ Lanigan.
So this round was 99 to 64. Good game.
Yeah, it was good. Okay.
All right. TJ Lanigan's Cult of Magic, 1,000 Suns. Guy with a belt buckle walks into a gaming convention.
TJ's great. A couple things happened that didn't go in my favor. One is the map we were on was the big open FLG map. So the terrain was like impossible for me to hide in. The second thing that was a big deal was I choked a little bit, got gun shy, and didn't jump early enough. And I made a couple other positioning mistakes that lost me some resources early. And then when I had put myself in a position that I needed to get bailed out by dice, and then my big giant slayer boss did 0 damage for 3 extended combats. Like I fucked up. So like TJ played flawlessly. I got gun shy and fucked up because I'm playing against TJ Lanigan. I messed up. I made some mistakes. Those mistakes compounded. And when we're in a position where I had a chance to bring it back, I need to be bailed up by dice because of my own failure and TJ's excellent play. I got punched in the face because that's when the randomness let out. We kept it close, right? I only lost by like 12 points. But basically how it happened is like turn 1, I had messed up with my deployment. He killed almost my entire 20 man with a volley turn 1 and blew up a truck. That was a real bad pain. I tried to recover. I was going to jump and then decided not to because I kind of got gun shy about it. And then the next turn, he finished off the red man, got in my deployment zone. We're messing around with things. I finally make a big charge, and I kill a bunch of stuff, but I whiff on the Mule Vortex Beasts, and then I end up the game falls apart.
When you say you got gun shy, what should you have done?
I should have deployed more aggressively and jumped early.
Okay.
Because I wasn't on terrain where I could hide. If I was on terrain where I could hide, I should just hit all game and forced him to come up the table. But I wasn't on terrain where I could do that, so I really should have just deployed on the line, given him all of the shots on turn 1, and then just called a watch and running and done the thing.
Okay.
That's what I should have done. But I didn't. So there we are. TJ was great. It was a wonderful game. It was still a close game. It was still good. It was right down to the till that boss. We both agreed that it was like either way it could go until that last moment there.
All right. And then round 6, you have Kobe Walters, Invasion Fleet Tyranids.
Kobe is a Vanguard Tactics guy from the UK. Super cool dude. We had a weird moment again, which is why I'm adding the whole discussion of the ITC clock to things. But that was at the end. So he's playing this really cool list. I'll let you go through it real quick.
This is a very interesting list. He
That's
has
very cool.
one character, which is a Neuro Tyrant.
Yeah, that guy's a pain in my ass.
That guy is a pain in everyone's ass. 3 Exocrines, 2 Maleceptors, 2 Lictors, 2 units of 3 Raveners, a single Biovore, a single Pyrovore, another single Pyrovore, and then a 2-man Pyrovore squad. 2 Screamer Killer Carnifexes and 2 Tyrannifexes with big boy guns.
Basically, we were playing Terraform. So he went first. He deployed all his bugs on the line. I deployed pretty aggressively on the line as well. He went first. He advanced on to all the objectives. And with his Raveners, he started 3 Terraforms.
Woo.
So I realized that if he completed 3 Terraforms, I had lost this game. So I called the WA and I charged all 3 objectives. With
wow.
I failed a couple of the charges, so thank God I went so aggressive. I flipped all the objectives back and stopped the Terraforms. He then, on top of 2, because he was going to take a 4 on primary, called Shadows on the Warp and flipped it back to a 12 for his primary.
Okay.
Got 1 Terraform
don't appreciate Shadow on the Warp.
And
especially
then,
with a -1.
And then I charged back onto his stuff the next turn, and then we just kept beating the shit out of each other. Coming into the end of round 4, we were both very low on time because we both had been like forcing each other. We'd been in extended combat since round 1 with all of our stuff. So we'd all shot all of our guns and rolled all our attacks every turn, right? No one was like every Neurolictor. I mean, every Lictor, every fucking robot, every dude, every single thing was in combat from turn 1 on, period. Wow. Nothing was free. And because of that, we rolled 1 billion dice. And so we're coming into end of 4. My opponent's got less than a minute left, and I've got 4 minutes left. And my opponent starts to intimate that he wants to talk out turn 5. I thought he had understood that we weren't going to continue the next round. So I was trying to be polite because points were the tiebreaker. Points were one of the tiebreakers. So I thought he was going to be polite. But then as we started to talk about it, he seemed to have this idea that he was somehow going to win the game. When math goes, because there's a couple things that could happen. If we had infinite time and played it slow, there's no way he won because I had 2 Terraforms set up and I was well positioned. If we rush and do all the basic things and I don't do half the things I'm supposed to do, then maybe. But if we play it out with infinite time, there's no way he wins. And if I didn't want to be a dick, but he only had a minute left going into 4. I could have charged all his things and forced him to make all his attacks. I did not do that because I didn't want to be a jerk. Because I could have just clocked him out on my turn and then he got no score and he wouldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't do that because I think that would be a jerk hole thing to do. So then he's making up these weird scenarios that I didn't think or whatever. And he's like, well, you didn't do this. I'm like, well, I didn't do this because we were rushing. So it started to get aggressive, a little confrontational. So I just called the judge. The judge was like, did you both have combined, both have less than 5 minutes? He's like, yes. Cool. You don't play turn 5. Then he realized that I had been being nice and I had been being polite and setting him up for success to get whatever. So we ended up talking. It was cool. And then it ended up, we called it 81-80 in favor of me. He was a great opponent. It was just a misunderstanding. We both had just a different view of how I had more information. So we just had a different view on how the game was going. So something I'm going to tell my opponents going forward is to be mindful of their clocks. Because because I am going to be sub 5 minutes. At the end of 4, I'm probably going to be sub 5 minutes. And if they've pressured me at all, right? And because of that, they need to be mindful of their clocks. Because if they are sub 5 minutes, then we won't go to 5 under ITC if we're playing on ITC clock rules. And I think some people didn't know that. And so that was the only whatever. But otherwise, they were also legitimate wins. I would have won the games either way if we would have gone to, end of 5. It's just for those of you who play Horde armies, make sure you tell your opponents because a lot of people aren't familiar with ITC clock rules. But that's it, man. That was it. It was great. It was a wonderful game. We played. I gotta go soon, so we'll kind of shortcut this. But we played doubles the next day. Me and my friend Stephen Ross, who's on our team. He's a Necrons player, wonderful dude. Our first round was into a couple of casual people playing guard and sisters. We played 60 orcs, 2 squads of storm boys, 2 pain bosses, 2 war bosses, and then he played 2 DDAs in the Silent King and 2 destroyers.
Okay.
That was it. And then our next round was against pair of 14-year-old kids who are super cool. We asked them ahead of time what they kind of game. They were like, "We want you to kick our butts." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So they aggressively deployed turn 1, and then I turn 1 wad and ended in their deployment zone. And we fought it out the whole game. But then they found this cool line, and they almost brought it back. We still won. But they ended up like in our deployment zone on our home objective, killing everything on our home objective with rampagers, with the gorilla guys from Tau. They were Tau and Admech. And that was like a really cool line. It was super sick. It was great. And then our last game was against Abaddon Shooting Castle with Chaos Knights with the cultist attachment.
Oh, okay.
And so they were like, they had like all these demolishers, and they had a Forge Fiend, and they had all the rerolls. So Forge Fiend's really good at killing boys with sustained 5s and full rerolls.
Yes.
And then they had all these cultists, and then they had 3 carnivores and 2 brigands. But we had 2 DDAs in the Silent King, so anytime they'd expose anything, we'd just kill the shit out of it. And then I played super cagey with my boys. I think we wad on 4 or something.
Wow.
But again, that game was like, I think 92-68 or something, or 92-80 or whatever. We took best general. We missed best overall because we hadn't planned on playing doubles. We didn't like bring a display board or whatever.
Okay.
But we took best general, so that was super cool.
That's
and
awesome.
Then Donald Plummer won best overall for paint, or best paint for things. So this weekend we had 3 Aegis players go X and 1. We had 1 Aegis player win a GT. We had 1 Aegis player go for 2. And we had then we won the doubles, and we had another Aegis player take best painted Tau and best painted at LVO.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was a great run. I'm excited for this coming year, and I'm excited to get to hang out with you at Clash. We also got good news. Clash is a golden ticket event now for 40K. We'll have 2 tickets. Age of Sigmar will have 1, and Kill Team will have 1.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be I'm excited for this year. And then I've made the commitment that I'm going to cell shade all those orcs, so that's going to be a pain in my butt too. What about you, Joe? Any closing thoughts?
Nope. Just I have paralysis now with Eldar. I have no idea what I'm going to do, so I'll be working on that for the next 2 weeks.
I have list ideas too. Let's chat, because I think there's some cool lists in there. I think you should play Wraiths though, because I think Wraiths are awesome.
Wraiths? I don't have that many Wraiths. I have 10 Wraith Guard and 2 Wraith Lords, and that's it.
Wraiths. Right there. He's going to be back doing the podcast again.
Yeah. Absolutely. We will be getting back into this, and I keep teasing this and not doing a follow through on it of start to stream painting sessions. I'm definitely going to do that. I think I'm going to start with a Phoenix Lord series. I'm going to paint each Phoenix Lord on stream.
Okay, cool. I would love to hang out and paint too. So we'll do things. I'll paint Wraiths because apparently you're a wuss.
Wow.
All right. See you later.
All right. See ya.
Thanks,
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.